We are back, and appreciate all of you being here, live from the beach. We've had some of the guests that we normally have, and many people have asked me when will Mike Griffith join us. Natalie clad as always.
Yeah, man, ready to go.
I was an up-and-coming sports writer, and I remember I saw a friend, a mentor at a game one day, and I was dressed in jeans and a sweatshirt, and I said, you're wearing a suit. Like, why are you so dressed up? He said, this is my job. I'm going to work.
That's right.
He said, you can learn from it. I wore a suit the next game.
You know, the Alabama beat writers, when I switched over from the Auburn to the Alabama beat, the first thing they did is pull me aside and said, hey, man, you're covering Alabama now. You got to wear a sports coat.
Yeah.
So that's how Alabama viewed it. At Auburn, you just, well, no Auburn jokes.
I'm no connoisseur on clothes, Mike, but you are among maybe the most Natalie dressed sports writer I know.
It's characteristic of Michigan State graduates.
I had lunch with a Michigan State graduate today over there.
You better be careful. You'll be writing a book with him soon.
Next thing you know, I feel like I'm about to be drawn into some scandal knowing two Michigan State people.
That's right. It's party on.
So, okay. Let's get to the meat on the hoof, as they say. Everybody's got a different interest. What are you most locked into as you cover this event?
Wow. Well, you know, there's just so much going on in college sports right now, Paul. It's kind of hard to seize in on one thing, and it's kind of interesting to see where Sankey takes it, where Kirby Smart takes it, where Scott Strickland takes it. I mean, everybody kind of has their own agenda, and where are they going to go with it, and what are the most important things, and what can we really decide right now while we're still waiting for the House versus NCAA settlement. I mean, it feels like that's kind of the first domino that's got to fall, and yet we're talking philosophically, maybe some contingency planning for what happens with the college football playoff and what happens in terms of whether or not there's going to be automatic qualifiers from the different conferences, and will there be a play-in game, and if so, what happens to the SEC championship? And oh, by the way, should there only be one portal window, or should there be two? And if there is one portal window, when will it be? I mean, there's so many issues that are kind of quaking beneath our feet as the landscape continues to shift in college athletics.
It's interesting you mentioned Scott Strickland. I believe we're talking to him tomorrow, but there's a lot of media chatter. Apparently a few minutes ago, just down the hallway, he was talking to some reporters, and he was talking about the CFP, and Strickland said that using a committee is not a good way to choose the postseason for the CFP. And as you have pointed out a number of times, I believe Scott Strickland used to be on that CFP committee.
Yeah, you know, I actually had a chance to stand in the hallway and talk to Scott Strickland here at the SEC Spring Meet. I know you sit down with him, but I stand in hallways with him. And he was talking about how he thought college athletics was somewhat like the English Premier League in soccer, you know, with the different tiers. And he was equating, you know, the inability of collegiate athletics to come up with some ground rules like you would maybe in your backyard when you know, say, okay, you know, the road's out of bounds, and if you kick the ball over here, it's an out. He says there's no ground rules, but to his point, I'm glad you reminded me of that, Paul. In 2018, Scott Strickland was on that college football playoff selection committee, and so was the Georgia Tech athletic director, and so was the Oklahoma athletic director.
I haven't heard this in a long time. I feel like I'm playing the greatest hits from my high school days.
Oklahoma got in the playoff over Georgia, which lost by a touchdown to what was then the most dominant Alabama team in history. They'd beaten everybody by 21 points or more. And the Oklahoma AD was on that committee. His team got in. They were down 28-0 to Alabama within 16 minutes. And it was a farce. And Kirby Smart said, you know, the problem I have with this is that it changes every year. What's important to the committee changes every year. And 7 years later, Greg Sankey is standing up in front of a room last night here in Miramar Beach, Florida, saying the same thing and searching for more answers of why there were 3 3-loss SEC teams not included, 2 of which that beat Georgia, you know, in an SMU team that, you know, rode in backwards on a horse after losing losing in the ACC championship game.
That is the Mike Griffith that we love. The Mike Griffith
it's factual.
That is like an elephant. He never forgets some take that he once had, even if it's.
Well, no, wait a minute, Paul. Wait a minute.
7 years old.
You got to remember, at the time, they made a big deal out of this because I challenged these men of great integrity. You know, the ADs from Oklahoma and Texas that kind of left their conference in the middle of the night. Those men of great integrity. I was challenging their ability to make an objective call as part of the college football playoff committee, and I was chastised for that, inappropriately, I might add. I feel.
Who were you chastised by?
Just the general public. I mean,
No.
and no, it was, you know, that.
I'm just sorry I wasn't. I think I was part of the group
You
chastising.
actually were campaigning for Georgia.
I was.
You were
I'm
very
sorry.
public about
Thank
that.
you.
that
I
year,
appreciate
as was Kirk Herbstreit.
Yeah. Well, those
Two
of
pretty
us-
good football minds, I'd
two of
say.
us are usually in concert with one another. That is the voice of Mike Griffith. If you're driving down the street or if you're watching in the rather.
Yeah.
I need to. By the way, I'm not a clothes horse, but what you have right there is the sign of a well-tailored man. If you nothing wrong with. I have jackets that just have the buttons, but when you go in there and do what you did, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. No, it was nice. This one.
That's
fit
right
like
out
a
of
glove.
Seville Row.
Yeah.
We'll take a break. We have more time with Griff. The coaches will start dropping by in the final hour. We're coming right back.